Okay, this time it's going to be the mid lane that we're looking over. You can see the pool is a little bit smaller than some of the other roles because jungle and solo and support might have crazier ones, and you won't see as many hunters in this role. Hunters can be played in this role, okay? I'm just going to point that out now. I'm not putting them on this list though just yet. We'll see if that continues to develop and go forward. We've seen hunters in here and maybe some more physicals like Chak, which we saw in Season 1. But for the most part, I'm just going to look at the mid lane mages and talk through them and where they should be and why they should be where they are, okay? At the moment, top of the shop, Agni and Poseidon. Poseidon has a fantastic early game. He has a fantastic mid game. Can be played very, very safe overall in that mid lane. His matchups, for the most part, he can still go even with them. Even if he does have a bad matchup, for example, Isis is pretty strong against Poseidon early, he's still going to be effective with it. The Poseidon at the moment, though, is S plus because everyone's constantly picking him. I don't necessarily think overall, though, late game he can still have a few issues with falling off, but he's just such a safe all-round god. He does exactly what he wants to bring. Him and Ao Kwong, or sorry, Kulkan, are exactly the same god in a way. They both bring the same sort of things to a team fight every single time. It's just raw damage and position that's key for them. So Poseidon's up there. Agni, though, Agni is up here and in the way. Agni is probably the most all-round god you want. His early game's good, his late mid game's good, his late game is amazing too. Has perfect damage, area control effects, good CC, good escapability, provides everything that you want in a mid laner. Should always be picked up banned, in my opinion. He should always be picked up banned, along with Poseidon, because Poseidon always gets picked there as well. Those two against each other as well is a really interesting matchup. Poseidon technically has an advantage over him, but then at the same time, Agni can do good stuff against a Poseidon. They're the top two in terms of mid lane. Dropping down to the S tier, you're going to see Isis next of all. Isis is very, very strong. The issue with Isis is confirming her damage. Her spirit balls are amazing. Her stage of the game, her wave clear at the start is good. Her mid game is pretty strong. Her late game can be underestimated because one spirit ball and circle of protection combo can kill a hunter from 100 to 0. If she's full build, she can kill someone outright with just a spirit ball, circle of protection. There's no escaping that combo to an extent if she does manage to go off like that. The problem with Isis is confirming that damage. She's very, very squishy. She's got no natural escape is the other issue as well when you think about it. Her natural escape is to wing gust away, and that's not necessarily going to save you for the most part. This is one of the reasons why she's not higher up. And this is why she's still very good, though. She's still very good and has good matchups against the likes of Agni. She can cause issues for him. She can cause issues for Poseidon and other gods in the S tier as well. Wave Clear is very strong. Good amounts of CC and control in the game. Isis, very, very strong. Deserves to be an S. Scylla alongside her there. Scylla is very, very strong. Her late game is amazing. Her early game is where she's weak. She has to play very safe for the most part. She can't really do much in terms of wave clear against any of these gods. Honestly, the one she's really got the most chance of looking at the top all the way to A, the one she's got the chance of actually out clearing or potentially going even with is a Giannis. And Giannis, you know, if he misses the unstable vortexes, yeah, okay. That's the only way you're going to do it. But Scylla really struggles in the early game. She's such a hyper carry, though, that she deserves to be S tier. She's safe for the most part, has a natural escape built into her kit. The best escape of any mid laner in the game is that Sentinel. Allows her to juke over walls, get out of every sort of situation she can find herself in. Against this Poseidon, she's pretty strong because she can just bead Sentinel away before the Kraken even connects with her, which helps her out a lot. It's just the early game that really causes her issues, and positioning is very, very key on her. That's why she's an S tier and not higher up. Giannis is still in the S tier here. He's still strong. He still gives the rotations to the team. Confirming damage, people think that it's hard to confirm his damage. If you're a mid lane player, you should be able to confirm the damage on Giannis. If you're missing the damage on Giannis, you need to go back to doing it over and over again. Because you should be able to hit the confirm the damage on this, it's easy to confirm damage on him, honestly. You've got portals for setup if you need to. He's got ridiculously low cooldowns when you go for full cooldown reduction. He's so mobile across the map, has the ability to teleport a whole team around the map. He provides so much to a team, very hard to kill, and has decent damage. He's got really good damage, honestly. It's just, like people say, confirming the damage is a little bit difficult. And some of his matchups can cause him troubles. For example, Poseidon with Krakens can cause him an issue with the cripple on that, so the whirlpools to make sure he can't go through portals, and he will be focused down. He's pretty safe overall, though, and he's still a good pick. He's a lot like Scylla, apart from Scylla's hypercarry status is much better than Giannis in the late game. Dropping down to S tier, S minus tier. We're going to see Ra and Zhonghui here. Ra, super sustained, super safe in lane. He's the safe all-round god. The way you build him at the moment is looking at the Lotus Crown, and even Rod of the Sleepiest is coming back as well onto this god to give him a full, sustained team fight composition. He's there to get your team to the late stages. He's fantastic for sieging still. His laning phase is still pretty safe. The issue with Ra is that you'll get focused. He's difficult. He's easy to kill to an extent in terms of just getting onto him. If the junglers focus you down, you're going to have a bad time. Waveclaw, like I said, is safe though. You can fight against the ones above him, but would you really want to pick him and get over than the ones above him? Depends on the composition more often than not. I wouldn't necessarily think he's a top tier pick and needs to be picked every single game, but he's viable. He's viable and he is useful too. Looking at the next one on the list there, Zhong Kui is next to him as well. Zhong Kui's matchup against some of these gods above him is actually pretty strong, and it's one of the reasons he's risen up. People underestimate how much damage he can do. The fact that he builds tanky, gets protections because of his passive, as well as the amount of damage he can do in a team fight can cause a lot of issues for teams. Still has a few gods that cause issues for him, like Nemesis in the jungle, but you don't see her as much right now. And his matchups against these mid laners can be strong. Against the Scylla, he can farm all day. Against the Poseidon, he's happy to take the poke and farm back up. So he's actually a really strong mid laner right now. A little bit underestimated at the moment. He may swing back into the meta once again. We'll see it. We've seen it done by Eager a couple of times in the Challenger Cup. In their competitive games, they're quite happy to run it as this tanky frontline bruiser-esque. It's a good thing to have a bruiser-esque mage sometimes if your rest of your team is quite squishy in terms of their ability. Like you've got squishy solo lane, squishy jungler, squishy hunter, then you might need a frontliner, and Zhong Kui is a perfect pickup in that sort of situation. He's not necessarily the one you want to pick every single game because he will have counters, and you want to see how your team composition really works out to make a full use of him. Dropping down to A tier now. These are all still viable. Anything in A is viable, in my opinion. You can play any of these gods. It's just the matchups and the way they're played can really change. Vulcan, at the moment, Vulcan's in a pretty strong position right now. I think he's okay where he is. The meatball being taken away from him dropped him down for being ridiculous. So the meatball being taken away from him. The stun on the meatball being taken away from him dropped him down from being ridiculous to being viable. Mobility causes him a little bit of an issue. Confirming some damage can be a little bit difficult too. Like his ultimate's still difficult to confirm the damage on. His matchups against some of these gods in mid lane isn't so bad. Against others, he can struggle a little bit. And he's overall still a good pick. He's still viable. Kulkulkan is an A plus right now. He could potentially be S tier, but like I said, Kulkulkan and Poseidon bring the same thing to the table as each other. Why would you pick a Kulkulkan if you can have a Poseidon on the side instead? Damage wise, he's still good. His early game is weak though. He's only there to wave clear early. His rotational ability early is kind of slow. He's looking to get Book of Tough online for damage. He's looking towards mid-end game to really come online and be an issue. He's not the same thing as in my opinion, as a Poseidon, who's going to have an early game wave push that's going to be stronger. He's very safe, able to farm freely under tower. Hard to pick because he can position safely. It's all about positioning with Kulkulkan to really be effective. Looking down the A tier, Nuwa. Nuwa does what she does. She deals damage, she wave clears okay. There's just better picks all around with her. She doesn't really go off. She doesn't really have anything special that makes you want to pick her over the other mages above her. Her late game's okay. She's got good survivability with her ultimate to disengage her from fights if she needs to. It's a global as well, so it hits multiple targets. There's no reason, though, to pick her over the gods above her, in all honesty. She's just a safe pick. She's playable. She's just safe, though. Anubis is still Anubis. His damage is good. It's a lot of burst. The issue is he still suffers with the same problems that he always did. He has to stand still to deal damage. You stand still for your ultimate and you're in place for a long time. You stand still for your Plague of Locust, you're in place for a long time. You miss your wrap, you're not going to deal as much damage as you want to. You've got to land your wrap, your mummify, to deal the damage overall and get a full burst combo off. Has he got kill potential on all the others in mid lane? Hell yes he does. Does he have a good wave clear? Yes he does. It's his late game that can hurt him. It's just the stage of the fact that he has to stand still for the most part that really hurts him. No natural escape built in, so position is important, which means you normally see him invest into a combat blink for repositioning purposes, and that can really, he can cause himself a lot of issues with that. He's strong though, but you've got to position yourself perfectly for it. Looking further down to A minus, you're going to see Hebo and Nox. Nox has the potential to turn a team fight around. Her poke and wave clear is pretty strong. is still pretty strong in the wave clear. Her ultimate is still a little bit difficult to confirm, just because of the fact that it now makes a sound and the way it casts. However, if she lands on multiple targets in a team fight, she can win a team fight for your team in seconds. So she's still a viable pick. She's below viable though, just because like she has bad matchups in terms of jungler presence. The way where the junglers are looking right now, they're very aggressive, they're very mid lane focused, and she can get picked off by them. But her damage potential is still there. She still has the potential to go off and go really big. Hebo alongside her. Hebo in the mid lane has good matchups against some of the gods above her. Good burst potential. Once again, though, all Hebo really brings to a fight is damage, a little bit like Anubis. But he's a little bit going to struggle a little bit against some of the junglers, a little bit more than Anubis would. At least in my opinion, I feel he doesn't have like a CC like Anubis does to escape. This is the only reason. You see, his CC is kind of a knock up with Spout, and that's kind of all he's got. Great burst damage potential, is pickable, and he has to get farming to really get big. I mean, to really be big, he needs to farm. And to get that farm, he's going to farm in the mid lane safely. He can go big, though, sometimes, and he can get himself going and be really strong for his team, but not all the time. I wouldn't have him on my team over the gods above him. And finally, Zeus. Zeus still relies on a team. His wave clear is strong, but it's unreliable at how quickly. Sorry, his wave clear is not that strong, is what I'm going to say. His wave clear takes a little bit while to come online. Has to use the chain lightning to bounce to the targets, which is also his damage potential for setups. In team fights, though, he's still got a great ultimate. If you can keep people inside it for the most part, his chain lightning, if it hits multiple targets, you can like get a pentakill based off it. He's got great damage. Survivability is not all that bad. It's just confirming his damage is difficult, and when I say survivability is not that bad, he's really only got his 2 for mobility and escape, which is kind of the same as Kukulkan if you think about it. But it's just his laning phase isn't the greatest, and there's better picks. There's better picks overall. That's why he's down in B, honestly. I wouldn't want to see him picked over a Nuwa, for example. I'd rather pick Nuwa because the damage is safer. She's a safer god, all in all. A safe god is what you're looking for to deal damage and get to the late game. Zeus, he's not very safe, and his damage potential is a bit more difficult to confirm, is the biggest issue with him, and that's why he's down in the beta. Have opinions all you want. This is my opinion on the gods list, though. Leave your comments below if you want to, talk amongst yourselves and talk with me about what you think I should have changed on this one. I'm not going to change my opinion right now. Maybe you'll sway me. I will always listen. But for now, that's how I kind of see mid lane.